Welcome to the Bucher and Friends podcast, co-starring 10-year NFL veteran and Super Bowl champion, Will Blackman.
Manning from the end zone. He throws, and a deflect away, and it is picked off by Will Blackman, the former Giant.
Tim Dwight watches it hit, bounces, picks it up at the 10, slips a defender, fumbles the football, it's up for grabs, it's covered in the end zone by Will Blackman for a Green Bay touchdown!
And now, here is your host,
Let's send it over to Rick Bucher.
Rick Bucher.
Welcome to another edition of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. I'm Rick Bucher. You can see me on FS1. You can read my stuff at Bleacher Report. You can follow me on Twitter at Rick Bucher. He is Super Bowl champ Will Blackman. You can find him on NFL Network and on Twitter at Will Blackman. And you can find, I don't know where you can find our guest, making a return appearance, Burton Chawla, known as the consultant. He is a NCAA basketball expert, which is why I have him on the show. But I get the sense, you know what, I take it back. Burton, you are on social media, aren't you? And you're not just a lurker. You actually post every now and then.
I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
You called me the accountant last episode.
I mistakenly referred to you in the description of the last podcast as the accountant because for some reason I was thinking of you and I was thinking of that Ben Affleck character, the accountant who is also an undercover assassin, and he's like a little mentally deranged.
Great movie, by the way.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
Much better movie the second or third time you watch it. And I will say this. Yes. I liked it the first time. I loved it the second or third time. And I will say this. I'm a little off, and I will take you out. So I don't think it's an inaccurate.
It's not that much of a stretch.
Who I am. No, it's not. But you know what I love, Rick, as a nickname? The Magician. I love that. I've been known as the Magician because sometimes I'll play a bad poker hand and it'll just hit. I'll just runner that thing. And then I am a phenomenal, not even like, I'm a phenomenal shooter, but the biggest thing I'm great at is Jenga. And people think I'm a magician because I can close my eyes. I can have 4 or 5 maul backs, and all of a sudden I'm pulling all kinds of Jenga pieces off that board.
Will, are you impressed?
Sure.
So
my agenda tonight was to impress Will. So yeah. I'll take short.
Already mission accomplished. Well, you can go one step further. And for those of you who are planning to play the Monday night NCAA Finals Championship, we have a great place for you to do it. You're going to be informed because of Burton being on the show, but we also want to put some money in your pocket to bet with. And the place to go is mybookie.ag. That's MYBOOKIE.AG. They've been in business for years. They're reputable. And best of all, they pay out fast. And here's the deal. They're going to give you some extra money to bet with. Put $50 into your account and use the promo code Bucher, my last name, BUCHER, and they will instantly make that $75. That's right, a 50% bump for whatever you deposit all the way up to $1,000. So imagine you put $1,000 in, you instantly have $1,500 to play with just by using my last name. And now you're going to be able to use it in an informed way because Burton is going to tell us exactly what and how to play this Texas Tech UVA matchup, even though I have a feeling, Burton, you and I might be disagreeing how this should be played.
1,000% through our text messages. I'm sure we're not in agreement. And I'll tell you this. I took a hit this weekend. Like, I've been up all weekend. All tournament. And, I was obviously on your pod on Friday and, had some picks and didn't work out for me. And you and I were texting throughout the games. And it was a tough weekend, especially with Michigan State. I obviously feel confident. And I will say this. Prior to the tournament starting, I put $1,000 on UVA winning the thing. And they were at a plus 350 at that time. So I am going to bet on Monday, but I already have action on Monday through that. I will tell you, like, they have survived and survived and survived, and it's been an interesting tournament. And, I think any smart bettor would pivot or evolve or however you want to quantify it, because Texas Tech has looked so good.
Yeah.
So good throughout this tournament. And I don't know how closely you're following Rick or how closely you're following Will, but, like, they got smoked by a bad West Virginia team in the Big 12 tournament. And they have looked fantastic since then. So I do agree you and I are going to differ on this, but I'm going to make amends for Friday's pod by predicting correctly.
Okay.
And I will even dive into the over-under. So I have Virginia -1, and I have the over-under at 17.5. I don't know what lines you're looking at, but that's what I have.
Yep.
Is that a fair assessment of what you have?
Yep.
So here, let's dive into the thing that's easier for me, and I'm sure you and I will disagree. I like Virginia. I don't love Virginia. I told you I put money on them before the tournament starts. I do believe they're going to win it. I do believe they are the better team if this was a series. You made an interesting point to me, Rick. Like, Virginia has a lot of similarities with Michigan State, and boy, did Texas Tech bottle up Michigan State.
They did.
They did. I'm going to make some counters to that, which will probably align with what I said on Friday's pod, which is this. Virginia doesn't want to play a fast tempo at all. Michigan State does, so there's the first difference between them. But more so, Virginia, although doesn't want to play a fast tempo, is not incapable of making plays and offensive plays when they want to.
They demonstrated that. They demonstrated by eking out that win.
Like, just think about that, right? Like, they ran a play that they wanted to run to get Kyle Guy 3 in the corner. Got it. Cool. We needed that 3. We desperately need that 3. And obviously Harper missed a free throw on the other end, which gave them an opportunity to win it. And then they ran another play that gave them an opportunity to win it. Foul or not foul, that's probably a conversation for another time. But, like, they ran a nice play that Kyle Guy could have made regardless of the foul. So, and I said this to you last pod, Kyle Guy, Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter are capable scorers, more than capable scorers. They just don't play that style of, like, we got to get a bucket right now, let's play to our strengths. It's very similar to the 04 Pistons. Like, Rip, Chauncey, and Rasheed can score the ball. They're just not trying to. We're just trying to grind this game out because that's the best way for us to win, aggregated over time. So I don't think it's exactly the same as Michigan State, because outside of Cassius, who's getting a bucket by himself on Michigan State? Nobody. So it's a little different. Plus, Cassius is small, and what Texas Tech did a great job of was anytime he got into the paint area and was trying to make a play, they doubled him and they trapped him, and he doesn't do well when you got a 6'4" guy on him and then you got a 6'8" guy on him. And that's not going to happen to Ty Jerome. It's just not. Like, he's just too big, too smart. He's not as fast as Cassius, but, like, he's a different player than Cassius. I also think, and although I don't usually subscribe to these type of things, and maybe this is me just leaning on the fact that I bet on them, I just think it's Virginia's time. Right? Like, what a great story, right? Like, we're the first ever to lose to a 1 seed to lose to a 16 seed, and now we go and win the tournament.
Interesting.
I just think it's their time. So that coupled with the fact that, and I think we're all in agreement, that this is going to be a grind-out game. God, Virginia loves grind-out games.
Yeah.
They love them. The line's 1. Like, this is one of those lines, like, I mean, you can't bet the money line at this point, because what's the difference between betting the money line and 1 at this point, right? Like, somebody has to win.
Sure.
So I love Virginia on the money line. I'm sure. Give me your reasons why you don't like them, because I'm sure you're going to give me 100 why you don't like them.
No, it's not so much that I don't like Virginia as much as I do. Just Texas Tech's defense was so impressive, and I believe in a big game, it is much easier with the pressure of a championship at stake. It's much easier to get geeked up and execute your defense than it is to fine line the offense. And I believe that Virginia has shooters. They have scorers. I don't know that they blow you away with their athleticism. Texas Tech's length and athleticism to me is what was so impressive that Michigan State just didn't have an answer for. And I'm not convinced that Virginia has enough of that to be able to hold them at bay. Now, the way they won, Kyle Guy being smooth as silk, cold as ice at the free throw line and knocking down three like it was just a Saturday afternoon at the park, not a trip to the finals on the line. It was impressive. I give you that. And I also like the demeanor of Texas Tech coming out of that win, beating Michigan State, getting there for the first time in quite some time. And it was business. There wasn't celebration. So when I put that together, it's really just you've watched far more of them. It's more of a basic, this is what I believe in when it comes to big pressure games, particularly with players at this age, that defense travels and defense lasts and defense overcomes any of those jitters.
So you're right about defense, but we're ignoring the fact that Virginia plays great defense. Like you and I had this conversation, and it actually happened in that game, but it happened in a different way. Virginia just will shut you out for 7 minutes. Yep. They will just shut you out.
Will, you want to break the tie here? Who are you going with?
I'm just happy that when I Google Tony Bennett, it's still the singer and not the coach. That's all I'm happy about. So
is it really still?
Well, that may change. That may change after Monday night.
So, in honor of Tony Bennett, the singer, I feel like UVA, they need to leave their heart in Minnesota in order for them to win.
Oh wow! Look at this! Look at this! Just blending it all together.
The best is yet to come.
Is this like old man stuff that I should know about? Like,
wow!
The best is yet to come, guys.
I know.
Okay.
You dropped another one.
All right.
You're gonna go with a third?
Listen.
You got a third title? You got a third Bennett title you can roll?
I don't have a third one. But if they do get this done, Tony Bennett will be stepping out with his baby.
Oh, there we go.
There's your third.
That's so corny. That's cornier than Tom Brady announcing his retirement on April Fool's Day. Burton,
no, not at all.
Thank you for the insight, and we'll circle back at some point. We will circle back to talk more.
Hey, before I leave you guys,
yes.
So, Rick, what are you doing? Are you going Texas Tech money line? You believe they can win this game?
I will take the point.
Okay. I mean, I don't even see the point in taking the point.
I haven't even looked at the number. I haven't looked at the payout.
Right. So I've already got money on Virginia pre-tournament, but I will tell you this: I'm still up 3,500 for the entire tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put the entire 3,500 on Virginia.
Wow.
-1.
Well, I can't top that. I can't top that.
I know. The way I look at it is this: like, I believe in what I believe in.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of guy that will backtrack from it. I lose. I'm still a push, I guess, for the tournament.
So now that you've stated that, you have to come on the next podcast after the championship. You have to come on. We have to talk about this.
Yeah. If they win, I'm buying a really nice bottle of Malbec.
Yeah. And if they lose, you may have difficulty speaking, but that's why we still want you on.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I believe. MyBookie.ag. I'm betting it on MyBookie.ag.
There you go.
3,500 -1 Cavaliers.
All right, there you have it. Burton, thank you so much for the time. Appreciate it, and we will check in with you after the championship.
Appreciate you, Rick. Appreciate you, Will.
All right.
All righty.
All right, that was Burton Chawla. Some people know him as the consultant. Some people know him as the accountant. He's one of those guys, Will.
He's the Malbec maniac, apparently.
Yeah. Well, and he is. I don't know if you have some of these friends. I have friends like this. It's not really clear what they do. They're always around. They know everybody. I'm
that guy.
You're that guy?
I'm that guy right now. I'm that guy. Nobody knows what I do, but I am very, very well connected.
All right. So, then because those connections, I would assume, include people in and around the Green Bay Packers, I'm wondering just how much.
There you go again. You are the man. I tell you that.
Thank you.
Segue master.
How earth-shattering was that story? And how surprising was that story for you?
Earth-shattering?
Yes.
I am very stoic.
Okay.
This stories like this don't rock my world. This is once again another case of guys who just want something to say. I don't know. I personally had a really, really good, and still do, with Aaron Rodgers. So these stories, maybe some of them happened when I left, but when I was there, it was none of that. In terms of like McCarthy leaving to get a massage, that's unreal.
Yeah. Do you believe it?
Like, I don't believe it. Not at all. I don't believe that, not one bit.
Interesting.
It's just a shame that we are talking about him getting massage and not like his legacy will be him getting a massage as opposed to like all the wins he had.
It will be now.
And also too, people are saying like he's still bitter about him picking Alex Smith #1 overall and then having him wait in the lobby. I think that's ridiculous too, because if he is upset, which I don't think, he's still holding a grudge. I mean, he did replace, or he did get picked or chosen over a legend by the name of Brett Favre.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, just took us to the NFC Championship game, and who did have plenty left in the tank, because clearly he went to Minnesota and took them to the NFC Championship game as well too. It's just unfortunate, and I think it's ridiculous. I think it's stupid. I think it's especially I feel like when guys want to say something, they just need to just put their name on it and just say what it is.
Yeah. The difficulty too is that there may be a couple guys, and I feel like we've gone through this in other places. We've gone through this with the Patriots. We've gone through it with the Steelers. There may be a couple of guys who feel the way that they do that was expressed in the piece about Aaron or about McCarthy, but it doesn't mean everybody feels that way, or the majority or the vast majority. There's always, I just think when you're working with NFL teams in particular, you got 50 plus guys, you're going to have differences of opinion. You're going to have guys who don't see everything or didn't experience things the same way. And
that is anywhere.
Yes. So, and it's funny because I'm working on a Blake Griffin piece right now, and we talked a lot about what happened with him and the Clippers. And it's amazing hearing his story and hearing his explanation and how dramatically different it is from the image that was created on the outside, both of him in particular and of the relationships and the situation with the Clippers in general. And I'll leave it at that, and you guys can check out my story. Should be coming out this week. But so I thought of that. This is what I find earth-shattering, is that this story with all of its detail has come out on the Green Bay Packers. Because I've always felt there are certain places, there are certain locales that San Antonio's another one. The Kawhi Leonard, conflict or controversy or whatever happening in San Antonio. That's another place where I would never expect a story to come out that was as damaging as that one. That's what surprises me, is that the Packers' dirty laundry, or whatever laundry it is, however much it is and however dirty it is, that it was out there and someone was telling tales. Because I believe there has to be a certain degree of truth to it, Will, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, Aaron he's not out there, being like Drew Brees. Like, everyone sees Drew Brees as like the perfect individual. You can never get mad at him. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, he has, a strong personality. When he came out of college, one of the things scouts and GMs didn't like, they thought he was really cocky. That rubbed them the wrong way. And it's funny because that's what turned off scouts to Josh Rosen. They thought he was arrogant. They thought he was cocky, and he just rubbed people the wrong way. And that's what they saw Aaron Rodgers. But let's not forget, like, they still had great success. What they had, like 7 or 6 division titles. You know, people act like they didn't get a Super Bowl. They did win a Super Bowl.
Right.
You know, it's just, I don't know. It's funny to me, man, with all these things. And it's fun. It's interesting because McCarthy, the one thing he did preach, he always told us that he said conflict is good. Conflict, like we need to argue, we need to dispute, we need to have disagreements because that gives us a chance to understand one another and to understand what's going on. And so if there were some rifts here and there between each other, then that's just what it was. You had two strong personalities. You know, now people are upset because, they should have done more. They should, they underachieved. The season they went 15-1. That was the year for them to go do it again, to go back to back. And after that, it was wasn't the same, I guess. But it's just crazy to me because it doesn't make any sense.
Is it possible that the relationship changed from the time that you were there and you were seeing it to now, in part out of the frustration of not going back and repeating or winning another Super Bowl?
Oh, I'm sure it's changed dramatically because when I was there, Aaron Rodgers was still trying to find his identity within the NFL world, within the team. You know, he was still trying to figure out who he was, what type of player he's going to be. And then right when I left is right when they won the title. So once he won a Super Bowl, it was Aaron Rodgers town. This is a big barn that had 4 on it for years, for decades. And all of a sudden, that barn has a 12 on it ever since Aaron won the Super Bowl. And then Aaron, got his MVP.
Did you say bar or barn?
A barn.
A barn.
Yeah.
And it was visible where? Like, where was this barn?
I think it was on the 41. I can't remember the freeway that's out there.
Okay.
Yeah, there was a barn that had a 4. Once they put a 12 on it, it was it. That was it was his.
Interesting. A lot of people are speculating, is Aaron going to win another Super Bowl? And I know this is speculation, but I just wonder, when you look at him, you look at the landscape, you look at the NFC, is he going to get the opportunity? Do you see him winning another Super Bowl?
At the end of the day, it's still a team sport. Chicago has stepped their game up to just being a really, really, really good team. Minnesota is still there in the ballpark. They have a really, really good team. Detroit, they still need to do some things to step up their game, and it's going to be a really important draft for Green Bay to see what they're going to do. And we don't know what Matt LaFleur is going to do as a coach. And I just feel like there are just teams all around the NFL that are just getting better and better and better. And right now we don't know who Green Bay is.
Yeah.
We don't know who their safeties are. We don't know who is going to be the other receivers besides Devontae Adams. We don't know, if Aaron Jones is going to be the guy again. I'm sure he is because he stepped up pretty well last year. They lost Clay Matthews. They lost a lot of guys. So we don't know who these guys are going to be. There's no identity. Back then, we knew the identity. We knew they can line up and go 5 wide. They can go run the ball down your throat. They had great pass rushers. They had really good DBs. They had a leader at linebacker. We knew that, but we don't know right now.
Interesting. All right. The other subject that I wanted to hit is the beef out of nowhere between Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. And by all accounts, if I understand this correctly, it wasn't started by Juju Smith-Schuster. It was by people going after Antonio Brown and pointing out that Juju was the 2018 Steelers MVP.
Speaking of corny, yes, this whole beef is corny to me.
Yeah. And so as a result of that, AB just savaged Juju Smith, saying that
he said emotion.
Yeah.
He said boy fumbled the whole postseason in the biggest game of the year. By the way, Antonio Brown played outstanding that game. He said everyone went blind, too busy making guys famous, not enough reality these days. And that is a direct shot. A jab in the face.
Right.
At Juju. And Juju responds. He said, well, because AB's first tweet was, keep your emotions off the internet. And then he says that about Juju. So Juju says, keep your emotions off the internet. Does not tag. Neither one tags one another.
Yeah.
Then he said, all I ever did his next tweet, this is Juju. All I ever did was show that man love and respect from the moment I got into the league. I was genuinely happy for him, too, when he got traded to Oakland with a big contract. And now he takes shots at me on social media. Crazy how big that ego got to be. How big that ego got to be to take shots at people who show you love.
So.
Then he said, never argue with a fool. Onlookers.
Yeah, he quoted Mark Twain. Or he posted a Mark Twain quote. Never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. All right, so here, two different parts of this. Like, what's going on with AB? What's up? Are you really that sensitive? It's not even, like, Juju didn't pick the fight with you, and you want to take that man down? Come on, look, the more AB does this offseason, for all that I love watching him play and respect what he's able to do as a receiver, it raises more and more questions. I mean,
he's gonna get the Mayweather effect. They know he's really, really good, but a lot of people are gonna be watching, hoping he doesn't do well.
Yeah. And I'll be very interested to see exactly what happens with him playing with Derek Carr, playing in a different place. Now, I'm sure AB is going to be successful, but I believe that both AB and Juju are going to suffer mightily. And I was told by a former wide receiver, I won't say who, but we were having a conversation at FS1 the other day. And he said, if you took 30 random wide receivers from the NFL and you put them out there and you ran them through their stuff, Juju would clearly be number 30. That what he's able to do is a complete byproduct of Ben. That he's been as good as he's been, that he's looked as good as he has, is fully on Big Ben. And if he wasn't playing with a quarterback of that quality, he's not sure that he would be in the league. Now that's really strong words, and as I said, that's coming from someone else. That's not me, but it was strong. And I don't know what your take is on Juju, whether you have a different feel, but nonetheless, that is separate from this issue, and in fact, maybe even more so. Like, that AB would take down a guy who is not coming at him and not pretending to come at him and not pretending to be a star, all because the team decided to give him MVP.
Yeah, I mean, that's hard to take. He would come in at 30 because I feel a lot of guys are just good football players on the field. You know, like under the lights when it's go time, they're just good football players. But if we're talking about technician, route running, yeah, probably. Because right now I can just say AB, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio, T.Y. Hilton, Doug Baldwin, Alshon Jeffrey, A.J. Green, Mike Evans. Like, yeah, they're all better route runners and probably better players. But like I said, that's irrelevant to this point. But my thing is with AB is if I was so good like him, was paid like him, I have on blinders.
Yeah, why is he picking fights?
Or regardless, like, I don't care about anything else. If I wasn't happy where I was,
right?
Yes, I would say trade me. Let me go talk to the front office. Let's make this move happen. And then once I move on, then I'm on a new team. Celebrate with my new team. I got a nice contract. I got this going for me. Let me focus on it right now. Because, yeah, the reality is he is going from Big Ben to Derek Carr. Okay? That's a huge difference. That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
Now you got to find a whole new chemistry with this type of guy. Yeah, you came in as a 6th round pick, and you worked your tail off, earned your way to who you are with the same quarterback. That's a big deal. I don't care where you go. So, it can be done. It can be done because DeAndre Hopkins has done it. I think he's had like 14 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And has balled every single time.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I just wish.
But I will say this: none of those quarterbacks compare. None compare to Ben Roethlisberger.
No. I'm saying that AB going to a new team with a new quarterback, like, he can still make that quarterback look good.
Sure.
I'm saying it's possible because that's what DeAndre has done.
Sure.
You know, with all the quarterbacks he is now, he's fortunate to have Deshaun Watson now, where he can really, really ball. But it's interesting, man. Maybe once again, maybe he does all this because that's what fuels him. He puts that pressure on himself to make him work harder because he's afraid to fail because he does that. And I always say the Mayweather effect because that's what Floyd does. Floyd talks so much trash. He brags, he does all this, all these emotional things. And I think he does that to psych himself to like, hey, now the pressure's on me. I put pressure on myself so I can go out there and do what I got to do.
You are sort of adamant in separating AB and the Facebook Live from the locker room and picking this fight with Juju. A lot of the personality or emotional things that he does, and you separate them from the guy who's the player. It's harder for me to do that and saying, I worry about, or I believe that is it detracts from who AB is as a player in that he has these things happening. I can't help but feel they have an effect because he's such a great player. They have an effect on the teams that he plays. That these, and I can only imagine these are the things that have surfaced. These are the things that have become public. It just makes me wonder, like, how many other kind of zany, off the wall things is he doing that leaves his teammates off balance?
I mean, it's hard to, it's easy for, I guess you could say it's easy to separate that. I mean, hard not to separate it. But the reason why I think it is easy to separate because when the lights are on and it's go time, this man shows up. And for those 3 hours, you forget all the antics that he has.
Yeah.
Because he literally shows up. Now, if he wasn't doing his thing, if he was being ridiculous, because especially during the game, he's laser focused. You know, unless things don't go, you might see something on the sideline, him, whatever. But when he's in the game, he's lights out, laser focused, and he gets it done. Now, if he wasn't playing well and he was doing all these things, you know, he wouldn't have been traded. He would have been cut.
Right.
You know, and it would have looked even worse on him.
Fair enough.
But he knows that he's going to get it done. And like I said, once again, I keep being redundant, but it's the Mayweather effect. Because you're hoping that this guy, who is a top-tier fighter, is going to eventually be the one to take down Floyd. And you see Floyd, he's like going to El Pollo Loco. He's, you know, hanging out, going to Gucci, going to Louis, spending money, training maybe at 3 o'clock in the morning, training whatever he wants. He gets in the ring, and he just dismantles this guy who's been like training, praying, doing all the right things, and it didn't even matter.
Yeah. Fair point.
You know?
Okay, that does it for this episode of Bucher and Blackman, subsidiary of Bucher and Friends, part of the United WeCast Network. Please, wherever you get your podcasts, leave us a review, iTunes, wherever it might be. You just hit the stars, 1 through 5, whatever it might be. If you leave a comment, great. If you don't, that's okay too. And then if you want to be eligible for some prizes, just screenshot that review and send it to @BucherFriends, and you will be eligible. In our next podcast, we will certainly get into who ends up winning the NCAA Championship between Texas and UVA. We may even have Burton, the consultant/accountant, back on to discuss whatever might happen. I don't know what'd be better if we had him on after he wins the big payout or if he loses. We'll figure that out as we go forward. Also want to get in with Will on Paul Pierce saying that he had a better career than Dwayne Wade.
Same thing. Just go move on. Just go
they can't, and so we can't either. We will discuss all that in the next podcast. In the meantime, as always, thanks for listening.